Tuesday, everyone. Welcome in. This is Sports by the Book. You can find us live from the South Point Casino every Tuesday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Alex White. And now I have a guest host in studio, Dwayne Colucci. He runs the Race and Sportsbook at the Rampart. Very excited to have you for a full hour. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Alex. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure. Great to be in the South Point studio.
Hopefully you had a good Memorial Day weekend. I understand you were working a lot of it, though.
Yeah, it was busy. I'll tell you, it was packed at the Rampart, and the horse racing was great. We had some exciting NHL and NBA action, and it was just tremendous.
It really has been a good playoff for both NBA and NHL. It's been a lot of fun coming down to the wire here for both of them. Stick around. We're going to have Sammy P joining us in 30 minutes at 9:30 from Nesson. You can find him on his podcast, Chicken Dinner. Quick shout out to everybody who is playing us live right now. We've got 3 places in Vegas, Steiner's, Oasis, and in Fuego on Henderson. And then somewhere in Pennsylvania that you know a little bit about pizza, right, Dwayne?
Yeah, Dom's Pizzeria out there in Trafford in Jimmy's neck of the woods. And, you know, I'm a New York connoisseur, but we have some great pizza now here in Las Vegas as well. You know, Dom DeMarco's, check it out. I know all the boys. Vinny loves it. And, you know, there's several places here now that you can enjoy pizza.
See, no one had that on their bingo card. They're also getting pizza advice here for Sports by the Book today. We're going to quickly go through our starting 5, and then we'll do a little recap of the weekend. But these are our 5 games that are most intriguing to bet on today, starting with number 1, elimination game. The Mavs are up 3-0 in this series. Now, this is being played in Dallas, and the Mavs are a 1.5-point favorite over the Minnesota Timberwolves.
211 is the total. Yeah, Alex. And Dallas is dominated. Kyrie has looked so good. You know, he's just complimenting Luka. They're playing a well-rounded game, and definitely great coaching for Jason Kidd. And a credit to this team that they're just plowing through some massive competition. And I know that, you know, Towns hasn't really been involved as much as they would like. Edwards has been shut down, which is like unbelievable to fathom because he was on an incredible run, Alex. So definitely Dallas is now holding all the cards without a doubt.
They definitely are. I'm looking forward to breaking down that one with you. Number 2 on our list, though, we have a Game 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL. Rangers are up 2-1 in that series. Florida at home, $1.65 total, 5.5 juice to the under.
Yeah, definitely a tough series to handicap. I mean, I thought Florida dominated that last game, and the Rangers still came out on top. Lacks defense on that last play, without a doubt. There was nobody covering Lindbergh in front. It's just unbelievable how the Rangers have this will to win, and I've watched it all season, Alex. Shesterkin is fabulous, and Bobrovsky slips up a little, which he did in that last game. The Rangers capitalize. And Alexei Lafreniere, he came back with a great game after putting the puck in his own net. So the Rangers are dangerous, but I like Florida in this matchup.
I think I do too, but we'll get into why a little bit more here. Number 3, 3 games in the WNBA. Fever's second time being a favorite. Now we are seeing a lot of money on the Sparks. I saw it open at 6. Indiana, now they are down to 4.5 total in this one, 165.
Yeah, you have to think this schedule is getting a little tough in Indiana. They're playing a lot of games, you know, so it's going to be interesting to see if they have the win to keep up, because this is now the professional level, and you know, definitely exciting to see Caitlin Clark and all she could bring to the table. But this is a different element than college, you know, playing against a college competition.
Big news for me in the W right now. Underdogs 22-8-1 against the spread. More parity in this league, so we're seeing those dogs cover, not necessarily win outright, but at least keep it close.
Yeah, very competitive, Alex, without a doubt. You know, whether it's Chicago or, like we said, even Indiana, a lot of these teams, the Aces already lost a home game, which is very important. You know, what they lose 1 all last year, so definitely a change in the scenarios and the landscape of the WNBA.
Aces, Liberty, and Connecticut Sun have been very vulnerable for that spread, so look out for that. Number 4 on our list, Diamondbacks and Rangers meet for the first time since the 2023 World Series. Now, this is just a doubleheader between these two. Brandon Pfaadt gets the start for Arizona. He is a small favorite. Him and the Diamondbacks -125 on the road, taking on Dane Dunning and the Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers aren't playing too well. I'll be honest with you. You know, they're the underachievers thus far when you're watching. Also, you know, Arizona has had their troubles as well. They're not right on the Dodgers' tail, and the Dodgers have lost 5 in a row. So, you know, we're seeing San Francisco in the middle in between those teams. It's definitely going to be a different playoff scenario possibly this year.
Race to the finish, as always, in baseball. So we will see what happens between those two. I just like the revenge factor here with Arizona having that loss on their mind from the World Series. Number 5, though, we have Cole Ragans, who has been very good for Kansas City. The Royals -120 favored on the road against Simeon Woods Richardson and the Minnesota Twins. Twins +116 here at the South Point. That is the best number, and the Rampart, of course. Total 7.5 in this one.
Both teams playing very well. I'll be honest with you. You know, the Central has been the surprise of baseball, the American League. So this is going to be a great matchup, and definitely we're going to take some good two-way action on this game at the Rampart and South Point. A tough game to handicap.
To your point, both of them have won 5 of their last 7. Now, the Twins were on a little bit of a losing streak before that compared to the Royals, who have been
unbelievable,
very, very good.
Yes.
We're going to do a quick recap. I'm curious, yesterday we saw the Celtics. They finished the series with a sweep over the Pacers. And these two series have a lot in common because, I mean, the Pacers led. They should have won at least 2 of those games. Just couldn't really close out and finish. We're seeing that with the Timberwolves. But the Pacers did cover the spread, and the game stayed under, which we saw 3 overs before that leading into Game 4. How did the bettors bet yesterday's game?
We did pretty well, I'll be honest with you, Alex. It was a tough game. Definitely, I think a lot of the public felt that the Celtics were going to close it out in massive fashion,
right?
You know, especially without Tyrese Halliburton. And that definitely hurt and compromised Indiana's chances. You know, I'm a Knick guy, so I really could care less about both teams. But from a bookmaking standpoint, it was a successful series because the Celtics only covered 1 game. And then you roll around with the under in that last game where, you know, you think Indiana was going to speed up the pace, but they really couldn't. So tough series to handicap for the wagerers and bettors.
From a bookmaker standpoint, I mean, Boston is a little bit overrated, I guess you could say, since they didn't cover any of those numbers against the Pacers, but they just dominated in the regular season. How tough does that make making this next series, whether they play the Mavs or the Timberwolves?
Well, it's very difficult just because of the fact, like you said, you know, they're missing Porzingis. He might come back, though, for the finals. So that's another element that we have to anticipate when we're making these numbers. And they did not cover, like you said, Alex. So, you know, they're playing tight to the belt, but they finish games very well. So that comes into consideration when we're making second-half lines as well. In-game wagering, very difficult because the momentum swings so very fast. And Indiana collapsed in some of those games with 2 minutes to go. And, you know, I definitely think that Carlisle has to look at his coaching style when your team starts to falter with 2 minutes to go and you're dominating most of the game. So, you know, definitely I think it's tough to make these lines on the Celtics. Most likely going to play the Mavericks. I mean, nobody comes back from a 3-0 deficit. So we're already anticipating that matchup and formulating the matchups. And if Kristaps comes back.
It's very interesting to me because you can't even just pinpoint it on the lack of defense with Indiana, because on the other side in the West, we have the best defensive team in Minnesota, and they have collapsed in the last few minutes. But you make a great point. Boston outscored the Pacers 54-26 in the final 3 minutes in the fourth quarters and overtime. So it's really about that clutch time. As you mentioned, it's nobody has done it, come back from 3-0 deficit. So if we have the Mavs and the Celtics, it'll be interesting to see which one finishes. And I assume they'll kind of alternate and we'll have a longer series.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, Alex, because, you know, we want as many games possible as bookmakers. It garners more handle. And, you know, just seeing the Pacers get swept, it was kind of a shock. I figured they would have grabbed a couple of games. But like I said, they were compromised. Halliburton, their best player, was out. So you definitely make the adjustments on the series then. And Dallas, they'll be coming in somewhat healthy. I wouldn't overexert myself, you know, in these final 4 games if it even goes past tonight. You know, Luka, he needs some rest because he's definitely vulnerable at times. He gets easily injured, but Kyrie is playing at such a phenomenal level, and all the role players are stepping in. And like I said, Kidd has a command of this team right now. They're playing so well. It's going to be a difficult series to handicap. I would still, though, make the Celtics, you know, definitely in the 2-1 or more range in that series.
That's what I was thinking as well. And I will say the Knicks kind of became America's team. I think everybody was behind them. They really liked Brunson and how gritty they were. now with the final three, we really can't lose. I mean, if we get Tatum and Jaylen Brown winning, or Luka, Kyrie, or even Anthony Edwards.
Edwards, yeah,
no,
definitely.
no Anthony Richardson. But yes, so we can't lose with any of them winning. Were you happy to see Jaylen Brown win the MVP for the Eastern Conference?
Well, I definitely think he deserved it. He exerted himself, and Tatum compliments him well, and he compliments Tatum well. So you put Holiday in there, and he's facilitating the ball. He already won a title with Milwaukee, so you definitely have a great, well-rounded team here that dominated during the regular season. And it would have been interesting, Alex, like you said, if the Knicks were fully healthy.
Yes.
If you have Randall, if you have Robinson, if you have Anunoby healthy, I don't think the Pacers would have beat them. I mean, they were life and death to win the series the way it was. So we're definitely enjoying that the Celtics are in the finals, because a lot of people, focused on them through the Eastern Conference. The West was kind of a scramble.
Yeah.
Were the young teams OKC or Minnesota going to represent, or was it going to be Dallas or Denver? So we're seeing Dallas now rise to the top, and Luka, he's unbelievable, I'll tell you.
He really is, and he's really proving that, especially now. I mean, we saw him a few years ago in the Western Conference Finals do the same thing, but It's amazing to see him and Kyrie really work together there. Going from one team that more focused on offense on the basketball court to one on the ice that's all about offense and no defense. Last night, Edmonton Oilers go up 2-0, give up 3 goals in the second period to the Rangers, and then to the Stars, and then ultimately lose that one.
Yeah, this is, you and I have spoken about this multiple times. Edmonton is the Cinderella, or like the darling team of the NHL. Everybody is so enamored with Connor McDavid and his high-speed play. And you saw that last night with 2 minutes to go. He was all over the ice. Just a tremendous, phenomenal player, but you need some defense. You need some goaltending. And, I always believe Edmonton is overvalued, especially in these situations. We know Pete DeBoer is definitely a better coach and more experienced on the Dallas side, in my opinion. Coached the Vegas Golden Knights, coached San Jose in some big playoff series. So he knows how to get his team ready. And now that Robertson started to get involved, it definitely supports. Ottinger will outplay Skinner in most of these games. Unfortunately for Edmonton, they have to find themselves now. They lost the home ice. They had it when it was 1-1, and now it's 2-1 Dallas. So when you concede that home ice, there's a lot of pressure now. Those fans were so disappointed. Dallas looked phenomenal in that second period, and when they're clicking, it is unbelievable how good they really are. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights, 7-game series, so let's watch it.
I am definitely guilty of getting lost in Edmonton and the Oilers a little bit with that high speed, like you mentioned. I would like to see McDavid and Draisaitl actually win something, as they've been there for a while and haven't been able to get over that hump. But we're seeing that depth beats out the star power, right?
Yeah, definitely. You can't do it by yourself. Always the great teams have depth. Whether it's the Vegas Golden Knights, you want to go back 20, 30 years, Montreal Canadiens, New York Islanders, they had such phenomenal depth. And this is not the Edmonton Oilers team that, Wayne Gretzky, Yari Curry, Glenn Anderson, all these great players. It's a lot different. They lack on the defensive side. They need Kane to step up a little more.
Yes.
I think he's got to become physical. You have to get physical with this Dallas team. Otherwise, the old school guys are just going to run you into the ground, because they have a lot of veteran leadership as well.
Let's go ahead and stay on the ice and go to tonight's game. Rangers at Florida. Panthers minus 165 total, 5.5. Now, I'm with you. I do like Florida in this one to win the second game at home, but that price, it is factored in a little bit with the desperation spot, right? And not going down 3-1.
Yeah, definitely. Maurice better have his team ready, because the Rangers will be. Now there's no pressure. And,
right.
Don't let Chris Kreider and Zibanejad get off, because, you find yourself in the penalty box. I say this time and time again. The Rangers, in my opinion, have the best power play in the game. Them in Edmonton, definitely. But when that Ranger power play starts to click, you're going to find your back up against the wall. And like I said, Lafreniere has been fabulous. They get a tremendous play out of Fox. Trouba is probably the dirtiest player in the NHL, but, he has a chip on his shoulder, and he is the team captain, but you have to force him to take some bad penalties, and then Florida could really start to click. Verhaeghe has been amazing. I was listening to the broadcast, and I believe it was the Florida broadcast. I was on the way home the other night, Alex, and they said, this Florida team is like the Hurricanes only on steroids. So it's going to be difficult for the Rangers to come out of there 3-1. I think Florida has the upper hand tonight, but Shesterkin is capable of anything.
It's very true. And Jeff and I actually talked about that too, comparing them to the Canes, but they're a lot more physical than Carolina. So they're not afraid. I like the under here. I know in game 3 we saw a 5-4 overtime game, but you mentioned it. The Rangers very good, 25.6% on the power play, but then both these teams have been so good on the power kill. So I think we'll go back to seeing more of that tighter, low-scoring game here. And as you mentioned too, I like Florida in this spot as well.
Yeah, I think so, Alex. I think that Bobrovsky will be a lot tighter, and definitely the defense will be more stringent. And Shesterkin, you could always lean on this guy. I mean, he's a monster. So I think this could be a goaltender matchup. Barkov, Bennett, these guys got to get off for Florida to win, and it's definitely capable. I thought the Rangers got really, really lucky, but Barclay Goodrow is playing great as well. And, he's a Stanley Cup winner with Tampa in the past. So he knows definitely how to play in these situations. The Rangers are well-versed. Kreider's a veteran, like we said, Zibanejad, Fox. You got all these guys that could definitely put the puck in the back of the net. So definitely Bobrovsky has to be on his best, and I definitely think he will. I think that crowd is going to be off the hook as well, Alex.
Where do you have the numbers right now to win the Stanley Cup? I know going into our conference finals, the Rangers were the underdog. You're getting the most money with them, but I believe that is flipped, right? It's Rangers and Stars.
Yes,
are a little bit of the favorite to win.
Correct, Alex. And it was so shocking because every series the Rangers have been the underdog, and they have home ice. And I just, I squabble with Chris once in a while because I feel that the Rangers are one of the top teams in the NHL. They dominated the regular season. Now, we know that usually the President's Cup trophy winner doesn't win the Stanley Cup, but the Rangers have an excellent chance. They're there. They're hungry. They have the 2-1 lead, and now we're starting to see a lot of Ranger and Dallas money come in. And before the playoffs, we did have a right market for the Rangers. You could watch how the money started to come in. It was 20-1, then 15, then 12, then 8, 7, and now they're in a good position in the driver's seat if they could win tonight. So, yeah, a lot of futures money on the Rangers. We're being very careful now because they were the underdogs in these situations.
Jeff Parles has been on that since the beginning of the playoffs. He's like, they have home ice. I don't understand. But we're going to go ahead and move to the hardwood. I want to talk about the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. So we already mentioned no team has ever done it in NBA, come back from a 3-0 deficit in a series. Timberwolves are very talented, though. I can't just see them just laying down here. You're getting plus money if you like them on the money line. I know there has been some support on the Mavs. They were 2-point underdog. Now you're getting 1.5 if you want to take them on the spread, or if you want to just take them to win outright, plus 105 here at South Point in the Rampart.
Yeah, they have to win a game. I mean, come on, Edwards has got to step up in one of these situations. I mean, it's just, it's unfathomable that this team is falling apart now after beating the monstrous Denver Nuggets. I mean, how hard it is to beat that team. And Edwards had such a swagger, and now he seems like to come right down to earth. He's just humble from going, outrageous. Now he's just reined in. Like we said, Towns, they're having trouble managing him. Where is Gobert? A lot of these players have disappeared, and they really need to get some play and stop Luka. That's the whole thing. But how do you stop this guy? He'll heave him in from half court. He's the Caitlin Clark of the NBA. And this guy definitely, when he's playing with the swagger that he has now and is focused in, as long as he stays healthy and takes care of his body, it's going to be so difficult. I would anticipate Minnesota comes out all guns blazing tonight, and hopefully they'll get a game. We hate to see 2 sweeps, Alex. Like I said, to garner more handle, we want to see series go a little further.
And I understand people betting on the Celtics yesterday because Indiana was without their star player. We don't have that same scenario here. Can't they flip the switch here? I know that Ant has been very tired guarding Kyrie. Can't he try and focus more offensively and flip the switch here with Kyrie, make it tough for him to guard him? I mean, I know it's a lot simpler to say that and to actually do that, but it does seem like that is a problem. He can't get in his rhythm offensively because he is so focused on defending these two, which you talked about it, Luka and Kyrie, probably the best backcourt right now in the NBA.
Yeah, and it's hard to put Conley on it. Like you said, you have to put Edwards on these guys just because they have so much in the tank. And Kyrie has one of the quickest first steps that I've seen. Plus, he could drain the three. And we know that he complimented LeBron James so well. And now he's doing the same with Luka. So it's definitely difficult. This is where coaching comes into play. You have to make these adjustments. And you have to make sure that Edwards has enough in the tank, like you said, Alex, to where he could put up 30 to 35 points. This is what they need to succeed. But now, once again, you find yourself on the road. Your back's up against the wall. The crowd's going to be crazy. We're only seeing a 1.5 point spread, which definitely is encouraging for the Timberwolves because a lot of the public feel they're going to, play well in this game. But it's a difficult spot. I think they could steal one, though. I think they're going to mix it up and definitely come out a little rougher tonight.
I do, too. I mean, they have nothing to lose here, right? This could be their last game. So I'm with you. I do like Minnesota tonight in Dallas. Last thing I want to ask you about is that total, though, sitting here at 211. I saw 210s yesterday, so money on the over, which we've seen 3 overs in this series as well. But I think if you like the Timberwolves in this one, you have to like the under, right? Because they really have to tighten up and use that defense that got him this far.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to, definitely hope that Luka does not go crazy with a 40-point game. You have to rein him in a little with 25 and definitely play more solid defense, more solid inside as well. Like I said, Gobert, he's got to be involved.
Yes.
You definitely have to have Towns involved. These guys, they could score and have massive firepower as well, but they definitely rest their hat on the defense, and that's been non-existent. We've seen every game go over, but we're seeing even more over money in this game. I think it could go under as well. I think the Timberwolves are going to play, like I said, a more roughhouse style and be a little more hands-on, even if they take a few more fouls. If you could knock Kyrie or Luka off their game,
right,
you definitely have a chance.
Definitely have to at least knock one of them, because having both of them, we've seen in the last 3 games, has been very, very tough. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Sports by the Book. I'm Alex White. We have Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart Race and Sportsbook. Just a friendly reminder to please like and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. South Point Studio is the name. Thank you for everybody who is watching us live at one of our restaurants here in Vegas or in Pennsylvania. We're going to move to the WNBA for a little bit. And in 10 minutes, we'll have Sammy P joining us. So, looking at the WNBA, I started off the show with saying the Aces, the Liberty, and the Sun haven't really covered as favorites, but here I am. I like them today. We have Phoenix Mercury going to Connecticut, opened a 6.5 point favorite, is now sitting at 8. Total in that one, 166.5. I will say, from Phoenix, they've been a lot better than expected. No Brittany Griner, but I mean, they've been pretty good.
They're solid, I tell you. They definitely could play, but you're seeing massive Connecticut money. It's just a matter of time when they will right the ship. The same thing with the Liberty. You have so much firepower there, and they were able to even beat the Aces in one of the games, in the finals last year. So these teams are they're very talented, and it's just a matter of time before they get going. Like you said, you have no Griner there, but they're still playing well. I believe they beat the Aces, correct?
They did.
Yeah, so that's a massive accomplishment because we know how good the Aces are. We're right here in Las Vegas, and, they have great ownership. We sell out all the home games, so it makes it even more difficult on the opponent. But yet, like we said, the Mercury beat them already. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out. You have a lot of new faces in the WNBA, and maybe the Liberty and the Aces might not be in the finals this year. Could be possible.
And it was a great spot for the Aces this past Saturday. My dad was all over that, because coming off that loss to the Mercury and then having Caitlin Clark and the Fever here. So they won and covered that one pretty comfortably. As mentioned in the starting five, also, we have the Fever in action tonight with Caitlin Clark. So we're seeing money on the Sparks. These two have already played each other once. Indiana did win. That was their first win last Friday. That was in Los Angeles. Now they are hosting the Sparks. Still, bettors like the Sparks in this one. They are now a 4.5 point favorite at home, total 165.
the whole question is, are they getting tired? Like we said, is Caitlin Clark getting tired? But they beat this team already, and they kind of neutralized her in that game, but she still was able to score those late 3-pointers, and she was heaving them in from, all angles. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenal talent, and definitely I feel at home they could win again and beat this team. She didn't have a great performance in that last matchup, and yet they still beat this team. So different animal than playing against the Aces and, getting tired on the road, which they definitely were. So I think, definitely Indiana has a chance in this spot.
I like them as well. I think that is a good number there at 4.5 with the Fever at home. Couple days rest after that circuit that they have been on, and they are back home. I like the Sparks as well, and their rookie, Cameron Brink, has been very good for them, especially on the boards. And they've been very physical. And I do like this under that total as well, 166.5. That has even moved up. I think it's going the wrong way. Fever do like to run, but LA can slow that down.
Yeah, Caitlin's got to be hot for them to get to that 166 plateau. And like you said, there's so much young talent now in the WNBA, and these teams like Chicago, like Indiana, like the Sparks, they have a lot of talent now. So keep your eye on how these young ladies develop as the season goes on.
You brought up Chicago, so they are hosting Seattle Storm. Storm is a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Very high expectations for this team. They kind of try to make a, what is it called? Power team?
Yeah,
like we see in NBA. It'll come to me.
Big three or big four.
Super team? Super team, that's what it is. They tried to make a super team, probably to take out the Aces and the Liberty, but taking a little bit of time for them to really get in sync here. And we saw Chicago, with the big upset the other day. So Storm is a 2.5-point favorite on the road, total 165.5. I don't have anything in this one. I think that number is right.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Reese has been playing fabulous, though. Let's hit on that. She has averaged 7.5 rebounds per game, which is leading the team. She's very physical. You're seeing her draw hard fouls like Caitlin Clark. So that definitely means that, the opponents are watching her because she is now on the radar and definitely new in this league and a threat. This is a difficult game to handicap. I would probably take the points at home, though.
I don't hate it at all. And you're right. A lot of people worried if Angel Reese's game would transpire to the WNBA. It's done very well. She looks great. So all these rookies really have. I'm excited about what's to come in the W. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're going to have Sammy P joining us shortly. Dwayne Colucci, I'm Alex White. This has been Sports by the Book.
From the South Point studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yes.
I am beautiful.
And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
And host Frank Nicotero.
When I look at the clock, I go, ah!
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Casino. Thank you so much for following. Please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel, South Point Studio. I'm Alex White here with Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart Race and Sportsbook. But now joining us, we have Sammy P. You can find him on the tweets at SP Shoot. And also, you can follow his Chicken X Dinner. Follow his podcast, Chicken Dinner. Sammy, good to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Alex and Dwayne. I do like, save, and subscribe for the record, in case anybody was wondering, to Sports by the Book.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you,
Yes.
Sammy, and always hopping on with us whenever you can. Let's start with the WNBA. I believe you said you aren't really betting this one, but give us your thoughts. Elimination game here for the Timberwolves. Dallas 1.5 at home, total 211.
This is one of those psychological things for me. Like I tell myself this all the time, and it's not really a good handicap, but I think it's why the sports books stay in business, because I tell myself, well, the T-Wolves can't get swept, and yes, they can. These two series are very similar in the sense that the favorite has sort of found a way to win all of these games late. Like Indiana was probably better in 3 of the 4 games, but Indiana didn't win a single game. So it just feels to me like Minnesota doesn't have the answers down the stretch. And Dallas has 2 of the best killers in the game. Luka might be the best player left in the postseason, and Kyrie's proven to us that he can make these shots late fourth quarter, championships on the line. So I like Minnesota's team. I don't think that they have the closers, and I don't also agree with Chris Finch playing Rudy Gobert in the fourth quarter late, because he stalls their offense. He clearly can't guard as well as people think he can guard. So I want to take Minnesota, long story short, but I worry about them quitting. I worry about them laying an egg tonight. Conventional wisdom says that Dallas isn't going to sweep, but when you handicap that way, that's kind of lazy.
Yeah, definitely, Sam. I kind of agree with you, but I think Edwards definitely has to show. If you want to start comparing yourself to, Michael Jordan and these great players in the past, you have to step it up. What are your feelings about Edwards' performance? He's definitely been the focal point. We know Towns and, Gobert have had their troubles in this series.
He looks tired, man.
Yeah.
He looks a little fatigued. He looks like a kid that hasn't really been around the block before. And, I don't think he came out and said, I'm the next Michael Jordan. I know he respects MJ, but that's, a different conversation for a different day, when we start having these pundits say, well, he's the next Jordan. And then somebody else says, well, he looks more like Harold Miner. Just let him be a kid. Let him be a young 20-year-old something that is out here, trying to prove that he belongs. But I saw a stat that the first 2 rounds he was averaging close to 30 points a game. And since that number, when his minutes have risen and his volume has risen, his numbers are down a bit. And, I don't want to blame that he's tired, but he looks gassed. He looks like he's Jackson Brown. He's running on empty. So he's going to need some help, man. I know he needs to get out there and get 25, 30 points tonight to keep this thing alive. But he needs Mike Conley to play his game. He needs Karl Anthony Towns to not miss 8 straight 3-pointers. He needs some help, because he is not good enough at this point in his career to will his team to a win.
Well, especially against how Luka and Kyrie and the rest of them are all playing, and they do have their supporting cast. But, Sammy, I want to turn to the ice. We have 4 teams left, all playing for that Stanley Cup trophy. You like one in the West, though, a lot. And now we have the Rangers are up 2-1. The Stars are up 2-1 in their series. So tell us about the team that you like to finish out and win it all.
At this point, if you took a razor and nicked my arm, I would bleed green. Not Boston Celtic green, Dallas Star green. Now, let me also be honest with you. I came into the postseason with a Colorado future to win the Cup. And I thought that was a pretty decent ticket. But then once we saw Colorado line up against Dallas, as I often do, I sort of bet off my position. So I had a decent chunk on Colorado to go all the way. But then I really liked Dallas. And I was able to bet a little Dallas off of the Colorado. And everything sort of went their way. They won a couple games in overtime. And then one of Colorado's best players fell into the substance abuse program. And it was just a sad thing. So I sort of merged my Colorado position into a Dallas position. And look, I think Connor McDavid is awesome, and Draisaitl is clearly otherworldly. They have so many guys on offense that scare you. But oftentimes, as Dwayne knows, Edmonton wants to play up, but they don't get back. You know, they're like the Warriors in the NBA. We're going to shoot, but we're not going to get back all the time. And their net leaves a lot to be desired. I was already looking at the game 4 numbers. South Point, Edmonton minus 130. I think Dallas is just a better team. I think they have a more well-rounded game. They play 200 feet. They forecheck better. Ottinger has been playing really, really solid in net. I'll honestly probably, even though I have a Dallas position right now to win it all, I'd probably bet them again. Anytime I get plus money on Dallas in this postseason, I have to think about it because that's how good I think they are.
Yeah, that's a good angle, Sam. I'll be honest with you, and definitely very smart to get off once Nichushkin went into the, the substance abuse for multiple times now. Unfortunate. I think you had the right team in the Avalanche. I even think they were better than Dallas when this guy was healthy. But now, moving forward, what do you think that Edmonton can do to change this series and possibly win a game at home? If they go back to Dallas 3-1, it's over, like you said. So, what do you think that Edmonton has to do to get back on defense and do all these things to win a game?
I just think they have to play Energizer Bunny, man. I don't think Edmonton can win these games 3-2 and 2-1. I mean, they're just not built that way. And I think it's fascinating. And I covered the NHL for a long time in Chicago and saw a lot of really good Blackhawk teams. Other teams tried to play Chicago's game and they would get in trouble. Like Minnesota would try and get up and down the ice with Taves and Sharp and Hossa and Kane and Keith and Seabrook, and that was always a mistake. They started to play the other team's game, and it's not to say Edmonton can't win these games. I don't think they're built to win low-scoring affairs, so they got to turn it up to 11, man. They got to try and turn this into a track meet, and they did. I mean, they got up to a nice start last night. You go up 2-0 at home in your barn, you think you're in a good place. But then they got complacent on offense and they got loose with the puck and they got bam, bam, bam to go down 3-2 and took them a while to equalize it back 3-3. But I guess long story short is just you got to try and win this next game like 5-3, 4-2. You can't be playing to Dallas's strength, which is a strong net and a decent forecheck and solid defenseman. I think they got to empty the kitchen sink and they got to skate hard and skate fast for 3 periods and try and run Dallas out of the gym. I don't think they can keep trying to play these low and slow contests because they're not built that way. They should play to their strengths, play fast, get about 35, 40 shots on net, and see what happens there. Try and tie it up 2-2.
Just getting your thoughts on the Eastern Conference really quick. Florida really made it a game. They forced overtime in Game 3 at home, but ultimately the Rangers won that one. As I mentioned, now they're up 2-1 in that series. You got to pay the price for that desperation with Florida here at home. Minus 165, total 5.5, juice to the under, minus 120.
I've been looking at these first periods, and I don't, Dwayne can disagree if he wants. I still look at this number on the first period total at 1.5, and I can go over at even money. I mean, granted, the last game was 2-2 at the end of 20. That's sort of an aberration. You're not going to get 4 goals in most first periods. But, the Rangers sort of opened up the tempo in the last game, and we saw a lot of action up the middle of the ice. I mean, talk me out of over 1.5 in the first period at plus 100. I thought by now it would have sort of swung to maybe minus 110 each way. The last game I was able to get plus 110 in the first period over. Now at plus 100, I mean, they've caught up a little bit, but the way the Rangers have sort of opened things up and, Florida, I want to say Florida at one point had 90 shot attempts, not shots on goal, but shot attempts. For Hagee took 20 attempts in the last game. New York has sort of turned it up a bit pace-wise, and Florida has really answered the call. And Florida's power play is so good. I mean, when they get the puck on the man advantage, they are so efficient at working that thing around. So I don't really want to touch the side. I think this is a very evenly matched series. But that first period over still sort of speaks to me at plus 100.
Yeah, definitely, Sam. You know, Alex and I touched upon it earlier. We kind of feel that it's going to be a little tighter in this game because Florida is going to have more of a sense of urgency. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Verhage has just been monstrous, and there are going to be a lot of shot attempts on Shesterkin, but you're still dealing with Shesterkin and Bobrovsky. How do you think Bobrovsky is going to return tonight? Is he going to be the old Bobrovsky or give up weak goals like he did in the last game? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I never try and overreact to the last game. You get in trouble doing that. These are two of the best goalies in the league, and they are, pivotal points to get their teams to this current stance in the season. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like cutting it in one period is okay. Like, I'm with you. I don't feel great about fading these goalies essentially for 3 periods. Like, I feel better about the first period over than I do about going over 5.5 in the game, because these teams have shown tendencies and shown the abilities to figure each other out over the course of a game. So that's a good question. I mean, I think eventually you're going to get that 2-1, 3-2 final score. So I'm not necessarily in love with the full game over. And I think Bobrovsky's going to play a little bit better, but those first periods are very simple. If you get that buzzer in the first 5-6 minutes, it usually leads to that answer or that second goal, at some point in the ensuing 15 to 16 minutes or so. So I just look at that first period over and think, there are some shops in Vegas have plus 100 right now. I think that's an okay bet, but I don't really love anything tonight in hockey.
Let's turn to the Diamond. I don't know if you have any plays today in Major League Baseball, but I know that you're betting some futures already, right? Is there a team you really like or win total you can share with us?
Yeah, I am just piling up futures in my back pocket on the Kansas City Royals to win the American League pennant. And I know what you're thinking. The Yankees are great and the Orioles are there and maybe Seattle's got it. This Kansas City team, not only do they make you money every day, but they've got a pitching staff that I think a lot of people don't really understand how good these guys are. They have 3 guys with an ERA in the 3s, and then Singer has an ERA of 2.6. The bullpen is top 5 in ERA, and they just get you out. Now, they don't have these overpowering guys that are striking out, 7, 8, 9 guys a game, but they are, in terms of run differential, they are the 3rd best team right now in baseball. The only 2 teams with a better run differential than the Kansas City Royals are the Yankees and the Phillies. And I think when we had that conversation, it's like, all right, which one of these doesn't belong? Yankees, Phillies, Royals. We would all say Royals, but this team is 34-21. They are so good defensively, too, led by what should be an MVP candidate in Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop. He has changed everything with that team. And I'll tell you what, through their first, 55 games, they are number 2 in profitability right now. This team already this season is up 14 units if you're betting them day to day. You can get them, some places still have 10-1. Others have 15-1. There's one offshore book that has an 18-1. Not that I condone that type of, activity. But there's a big price range on Kansas City, and I still think, Alex, because of the Yankee love and the Oriole love, and maybe the Astros will figure it out, people don't really believe in Kansas City yet. But that is a playoff team this year, and if they get in with that rotation, they can win a couple of series, and then you can do what you got to do with 10, 15, or 18-1. I think that is still a number, double digit, 10-1, that you could bet on Kansas City and pay it off later in the season.
Yeah, great point, Sammy. I can't believe how well they're playing. I mean, we know how phenomenally talented Witt is. He's definitely one of the premier players, young players in the league. Now, you think the Mets are puking over Seth Lugo? Definitely, I think so. Reagans has been playing well, but that division is so difficult. And like you said, the run differential has been there, only second to the Yankees. The whole thing is, as the schedule starts to wear on, will the wear and tear, take its effect on this team? How do you feel that they are going to maintain and stay on top of the Central? Is it the pitching, or is it the hitting, or the combination of both?
I think it's a combination of all those things, but really, that's a 2-team division. I mean, you're going to get at least 2 teams out of there, right, out of the Central, I believe, because the East is just the East is sort of whack after you get through the Yankees and the Orioles. So I'm not a believer in the Red Sox. The Jays and the Rays just aren't it this year. And then you go out west, and I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
Like I think that still at the end of the day might only be a one bid league, one bid division rather. So you could get a very real possibility where the Central gets Cleveland, Kansas City, and Minnesota all in. Now, that's looking at the standings right now. Obviously, things can change. We're still in the month of May. But I think this Central is very slept on, and the pitching in this Central, especially in the bullpen, is very good. I mean, Cleveland's got a guy in Clase who's maybe the best closer in baseball right now the last 3 years. I mean, he's just a lockdown, shutdown guy in that ninth inning. So I want people to understand the East gets a lot of love because they got the two best teams. The West has the activity with the Mariners, and the Rangers won it last year, and the Astros have been perennially good. But the fact that people are still sleeping on the Central makes those teams' odds a lot bigger. Like Kansas City should not be 10-1 to win the pennant right now. It should be in that like 6-7 conversation. But because it's Kansas City and we don't like Kansas City, generally speaking, we still get a pretty decent price on the Royals.
Sam, let's switch it over to football here because we do have week 1 lines out already. Everybody's gearing up, excited about football, of course. You're already looking at a couple teams. You did a write-up, right, on the Ravens and the Packers for this year.
Yeah, Fox wanted me to pick. So Fox basically put out its games of the week for the entire season. And they're like, do you like any of these games? And it's like, here's week 1, week 4, week 10. I'm like, yeah, let me write up week 10 right now in May. You know, it's so silly how content works sometimes. But there's a game in week 3. And, you know, this is more of a big picture conversation than it is about week 3. But the Baltimore Ravens, perennially speaking, are defensive minded. They stop you at the line. They're very good on that side of the ball. But I think this team this year is going to score more points. You know, they lost Jadeveon Clowney, their best pass rusher. They lost one of their best linebackers, Patrick Queen. And oh, by the way, Alex, they lost their defensive coordinator who took the head coaching job in Seattle. So I have a feeling that this team is going to be more offensive this year. And the D is going to go through some growing pains in the first couple of weeks. There's also been some chatter about the offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, wanting to throw the ball more this year. Last year, he turned out Lamar into an MVP, and he threw the ball a lot more than he had in years past. It sounds like they're going to throw it even more this year, and they've brought in more help at receivers. So we look at some of these Raven totals in the 47, 48, 49 range. I think after a couple of weeks, we're going to see Baltimore in the high 40s to low 50s. Like that game, week 3, Baltimore and Dallas is totaled right now at 48. I think that's 51 by September. So I am keeping a very, very close eye on this Ravens offense. I want to watch them in the first month of the year. And I think if I'm right, again, I have a 50-50 chance of being right. I think these totals are going to be just a little too low because of what the Ravens have done and not what they will do. So I do like the Ravens to be an over team, a higher scoring team this year. And I took a shot on the Packers to win the NFC North because there weren't many quarterbacks that played better than Jordan Love down the stretch last year. And with those young receivers and that offensive line and that coach, that's a team that I think people are sleeping on in the NFC North because everybody expects Detroit to waltz back to a division title.
Yeah, great point, Sam. I'm not so sure about that. I think you're right. Love was just fabulous. He almost beat the Niners and destroyed my Dallas Cowboys. Another great point, that week 3 game is definitely focal because Dallas's defense isn't all that good. And now you have the two-prong attack. You have Jackson and you have Henry, so you could run and you could throw the ball. They have Flowers, they have Bateman. Definitely a great point that you bring up, that this offense will be a hybrid offense. Plus, I believe also, don't they have the most break days on the NFL schedule? They have several more rest days than most of the other NFL teams during the course of the schedule, which is very, very important. The whole thing is, do you feel that Lamar Jackson will be healthy and protected the whole season, or will Lamar revert back to non-playoff Lamar Jackson if they have some rough goings early in the season?
I think it's a valid question. I think it's clear that, you know, other teams are going to have the full book on Lamar because you've had now a full off season to prepare for what he did last year. And, you know, Monken did a great job. You know, they threw the ball a lot more down the stretch. Now, Did they throw it too much in the playoffs? Yes, they did. That's why they didn't beat Kansas City. I mean, they're going to run the ball. They're still a run-first team. But in terms of taking shots down the field and using Lamar in the play action, they didn't really do that 4 or 5 years ago in Baltimore. So it's more of just a balanced attack. And, the books are always going to catch up. You're going to get to the right number. It's always funny every year we see those stats. Well, there have never been more overs in the first month of the regular season. And then you guys behind the counter jack them up 3-4 points, and then we get that underwave. So it's not something that I think we can blanket over the course of a year. But I promise you right now, at the end of May, I am looking long and hard at these week 1, 2, 3, and 4 totals with Baltimore. They're mostly in the high 40s. But if we see Baltimore and Kansas City play to a 35-30 shootout in week 1, that week 2 total is not going to be 47.5, buddy. You know that, and I know that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. And that they do have capabilities of, this high-powered offense that everybody waits for. Everybody is waiting for Lamar Jackson to just break out. But like you said, throwing too much then became the formula, definitely the antidote, how to beat them. So, definitely he'll be able to throw against Dallas, but we have to see. Pittsburgh is much improved. You got a lot of hungry teams in that division, and we'll see how they are able to manage the regular season.
Think about the potential for points, guys, in these first 4 games. Baltimore plays Kansas City, Las Vegas, Dallas, and Buffalo. And it's not like they're going into Buffalo in the middle of December, right? Buffalo comes into Baltimore. That's a home game for Baltimore. Chiefs, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills. They all do one thing. They score points.
Right.
So it's going to be a very fun first month of the season, I think, in Baltimore. And I can't see Dwayne right now because I'm on the cell phone, but I can see him writing Baltimore overs on his notepad because he's going to catch up real quick on those this year.
Definitely.
And there's another bookmaker in here that might be writing down some notes as well.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh, okay.
It's Chris. Listen, how's your buddy Lamar Jackson do against the Steelers? You ever look at those numbers?
Oh, listen. I'm not a Ravens guy, Chris, and you know that. And I have a feeling you're a Steelers guy, right?
You think so? What was your first clue? What tipped that off?
Probably the Carnegie Mellon polo that you wear every once in a while. That's probably the first Blues clue. I look. Here's the best thing about betting overs. I don't care if they win. It's a valid question by you. I'm not saying the Ravens are going to win the division or win the conference and win the Super Bowl. I just think that their offense is better than people think. And if you believe that the Ravens defense is this top 3, top 5 unit that it's been for the last 5 years, you will be sorely mistaken. And when you bet these overs, I don't care if they win or if they lose. I just need them to score points and give up points. And I do think that's going to be a very fun thing to monitor over the first week. But that's also a very defensive comment by you because you guys might finish under 500 this year for the first time in a while, right?
We might do a lot of things. You never know. We might win a Super Bowl too. So I mean, there's a lot of mights. We're not even in camp yet. So yeah, a lot of mights. Hey, listen, I just wanted to stop in. I'm on my way to a meeting and say hello to 2 of my favorite guys, you, Sammy P, and Kaluch. We got in studio.
Yes.
How'd you get Kaluch in studio?
I don't know. And asked a favor, and he showed up.
Jeez, okay.
And I appreciate it so much.
Big
Love
time.
being
All
here.
right, I'm on my way to a meeting. Good luck. Hey, a lot of guys are high on the Ravens, but I still relish looking at those Lamar Jackson versus the Steelers numbers. It really gives me quite a thrill.
I don't think they're going to finish under 500, Sammy. I'll be honest with you. I think Pittsburgh is improved.
I think so,
Yeah,
too.
I think
we'll
so,
see.
Chris.
I mean,
Definitely.
long way to go.
Yeah.
Long way to go. All right, guys,
I
have a
the
good show.
answer
Yeah,
for you.
you're having
Lamar
a great show
Jackson
so far.
2-4.
Pardon me?
2-4 against the Steelers in his career, by the way.
Okay, so extrapolate that. So this year, he might win one game. You never know. Okay, see you later, guys. Good
Thanks,
show.
Chris.
He's Sammy P. You can find him on the tweets at SPShoot. You can also follow Chicken X Dinner and follow the podcast host for Nesson. Sammy, thank you so much. What else do you have going today?
I'm just going to tell everybody to like, save, and subscribe to Sports by the Book. That's all I got. I'm going in to do the Red Sox pregame, and all I need, Alex and Dwayne, is a big Dallas Stars win in game number 4, and I will be very, very content with my position.
We'll be on them. Definitely. I agree with you.
Yes. Kalucha's been against the Oilers, so plus money on the Dallas Stars in Game 4. We like it. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, Kaluch, we've got about 7 more minutes. I want to go through a few of these baseball games with you. See if there's anything that really caught your eye in the MLB today. And any final thoughts for you coming up?
Yeah, definitely, Alex. I think this is the right recipe now for the Los Angeles Dodgers is to play the Mets. You know, after losing 5 in a row, the Mets, I mean, they just can't finish games, Alex. They have massive bullpen problems. Lindor cannot hit the ball for some reason. That even puts more pressure on the polar bear. I think it's just a matter of time before the Dodgers really start to click. The lineup is too phenomenal not to. And I think this might be the right recipe going into Citi Field. You know, you have a doubleheader today. You have your ace going in one game against McGill. I definitely think the Dodgers have to start to put the pedal to the metal now because you don't want the Giants to linger around. They're an arch rival. You know that these other teams in the National League are definitely top-notch. Teams like Philadelphia, Atlanta. Now they have, once again, Acuna on the injury list, which is terrible. You know, he's going to miss the rest of the season. But they did win without him in the past. So I think there's a lot of pressure now on Roberts to start to right this ship, especially with the adverse pitching performances that he's been getting out of his staff. And their bullpen also is suspect, but the Mets are just a catastrophe right now. So I do think the Dodgers could possibly sweep this doubleheader today. Like we said, Kansas City has been very good. Sammy touched upon that, but Minnesota hasn't been bad either. You know, they put together a winning streak. They were winning early on in the season, then had their difficulties. And that's a very, very difficult division if these 4 teams maintain. I mean, you have 3-4 teams over 500, which is unheard of in that division. And you have teams like Toronto, Texas, and Houston that are just faltering and coming back to the pack. Yeah. So I think that there's less pressure in the East than there is in the Central to win and compete. So it's going to be difficult for the Royals, and this is a very, very difficult series. I would probably take Minnesota in this game.
Okay, Minnesota in that first game. I want to go back to the Dodgers really quick because, as you mentioned, they do have a doubleheader. How would you approach betting that first one on the money line and then rolling over for the second one if they do win?
I'll tell you the truth. I would bet probably run line because you are on the road. You get the 9 at-bats. You know, you're not at home to where if you're winning 3-2, you don't get up in the last. I think that the Dodgers are going to start to really pound the ball. They're going to definitely start to feel a sense of urgency, even though it's early in the season. You want to put this division away very early. That lineup is phenomenal, whether it's Mookie, whether it's Freeman, Ohtani. It's just great. Even to catcher Smith, they have to start to gel and support this pitching staff because the pitching isn't going to be there. I'll be honest with you. They do not have the old days of Buehler and Kershaw and all these guys. They definitely are injured. You know, Buehler's coming off the injury, and they have to hit the ball, which they definitely can.
I have one more game I want to ask you about, and I'm not just bringing this up because Chris Andrews stopped in, but the Pittsburgh Pirates, I've been following Jared Jones. He's been very good for them. And then, of course, the Tigers, they have Tarek Skubal, so he is outstanding as well. I feel like that number is a little bit high, -150 with the Tigers at home. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I hate to lay 150 with the Tigers. I agree with you. You know, the Tigers have definitely been flying under the radar. They're playing very well, but Pittsburgh started the season off gangbusters. Now they've come back down to earth. I think laying 150 is a touch much when you have this marquee pitching matchup. So I think you're right, Alex. This is a good spot to take the dog. 150 is very high. And remember, we have the 10-cent line at the Rampart and South Point. So you're getting a fat, juicy plus here. I definitely would look at the underdog as well, +140. And the total is at 7. So I think it could even go, under in this game, even though it's 125 on the shade.
I'm with you. Both of them have been very good. Jones, 68 strikeouts on the year, and then Tarek, 72. So I think we're going to see a low-scoring game, and I like that juicy +140. Well, Dwayne, thank you so much. I appreciate you stopping in studio, co-hosting the show with me. This has been Sports by the Book. I'm Alex White. Please make sure and like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, South Point Studio. Stick around. We have another great show coming up. You're a fan of Punchlines, right?
Yeah, I love Frank. He's the best. Definitely. Been on many a times.
Yes. He's a reoccurring guest on Punchlines. That is at 12 p.m. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here. Crew, thank you so much for your help today. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on South Point Studio.